Tonight we're going to check out the lead guitarist of the Foo Fighters' new signature Tele. Welcome back, Troglodytes, to your daily dose of guitar information, the Trogly's Guitar Show. This is very unique for a Fender. Having the artist's name on the outside like that? It's like if Gibson made a Fender-style case. Let's go ahead and check this thing out. It is a rather unique Tele Deluxe with P90 pickups. It's actually a little bit more than that because these are humbless P90s, so we'll have to see how that sounds. First impressions though, this thing is chunky. It's got a lot of weight to the body. And I can't remember ever seeing a Tele Deluxe having P90 pickups before, because usually they look like this. They have humbuckers, and if I remember the history correctly, it's like late 60s, early 70s when these things first came out. So that's why this instrument has a lot of those characteristics to it. Things like our bullet truss rod, cool matching large Fender headstock, big old block inlays. And then he specs his signature guitar out with a comfort cut on the back. But this is not actually the first time Fender has made a guitar like this for him, as it was previously available as a master-built custom shop artist guitar, so we're talking big money there, as well as a made in Mexico variant that had a different pickup combination to it. So if these humbless P90s that are in this one don't suit your needs today, he has many different versions of his new Cleaver Telecaster, as he's calling it. But this is the new Fender USA offered one. It's $2,500 brand new, sitting right in between the older offerings, and you've got two colors to choose from, a Dakota Red and the one that we're talking about tonight, a Charcoal Frost Metallic. Now Chris Shiflett, if you're not familiar, he's part of the band Foo Fighters, the lead guitarist as we were just talking about. So you've got Dave, Pat, and Chris all putting on a great show with the old six strings. Pat's got his signature Hagströms and all these other crazy guitars in his collection. He and I have very similar tastes in guitars, and Chris with these Fenders. He even has a podcast if you want to listen to him interview other guitarists and talk music. It's called Shred with Shifty. But besides the guitar, you get this very interesting super gold interior case. The exterior is brown with his signature on the outside. Typical Fender hang tags, including this one with your serial number. Then inside here we should have a COA. A little bent up from being put in this nice pouch, as well as our owner's manual. That's just a regular Fender sticker. An up-close look at our COA. Then I thought this was a nice touch. They actually do give you a slightly more premium strap. Appears to be a signature of his, or at least it has his name on it. And that's interesting. Even though it's brand new, it almost looks like it's slightly worn in on the back. That's real leather. And of course, silica packets and case keys. This review is brought to us by Brady. If you're buying a brand new guitar and you want to see it featured on the show first before you get it, feel free to use my New Guitar Day program. It gives you a nice keepsake, and it helps document your guitar in a cool way, and keep everyone informed. Brady's also the guy who has a couple of consignments in with me, talking like the John Mayer Stratocaster, the really beautiful 1995 Les Paul Classic, or the Tangerine Custom Shop Stratocaster. So if you have offers on those, feel free to send it our way. But for the rest of tonight's episode, let's go ahead and throw this one onto the workbench, take an individual look at its parts and specs, and hear how it sounds. After a million screws, I'm actually really glad we got to document this because it's been a while since I've had a Tele Deluxe on the show, but I just don't remember them being routed like this. This is basically a Jazzmaster, but on a Tele's body. In fact, if you wanted to, I'm pretty sure you could convert this into a Jazz Tele. We actually have reviewed those on the show if you're interested in checking it out, because these routes are definitely big enough to fit those pickups. But they top route the body down here to put your toggle switch in, then your wires go through, and then each pickup secures to the body using two screws that go straight through them. That's how most soap bar P90s are done. However, in looking at this guitar and just thinking, oh yeah, some sort of a P90 that Fender cooked up, this is actually very different. It reminds me of like some lap steel P90s. It's a complete circular bobbin there. But in order to make it humbless, they stack them together. Similar to how they do a humbucker, it's just on top of each other rather than side by side. But you can see all the magnets they've got going on there. And our bridge pickup is pretty much just more of the same. It's quite a chunky pickup, but hey, that's interesting. Fender actually puts their branding on the pickup. Imagine that. It's almost a shame to put the rectangular covers back on them. I love that vintage aesthetic. I feel that was a missed opportunity not to route the pick guard just to match that and give this Telecaster its own unique identity. Because that's a throwback to the 70s when an embossed pickup was fashionable. These are actually his signature pickups. They're called called the Cleaver Noiseless CS90. Here's a look at our toggle switch, and it looks like we got 500K CTS pots wired up very traditionally. And here's the top routed control route with our output jack over here on the side. Within the circuit, the bridge pickup reads 13.63K ohms, neck position 12.7, and the middle position for fun 6.57. Now don't worry, that doesn't mean they're like extra ultra hot. That's just how stacked pickups usually read. There's twice the resistance. That's just independent volume and tone controls for each pickup, neck and bridge. And no crazy tremolos on here, just a regular string through 6-piece bridge with Fender branded saddles. Cosmetically, that was the one thing that didn't really do it for me on this guitar. The P90s just don't take up enough space. This thing has a whole lot of pickguard going on. It's covering over that beautiful frost finish. It's not quite as dark as Gibson's charcoal metallic. It's basically its own thing. The frost portion kind of helps lighten it up a bit, but it is important to note that this is a true nitro finish, so you will get finish checking eventually on this, and it will yellow with age, and gray guitars turn kind of a greenish olive color, so that'll be cool. As far as the body material, it's made out of alder, whereas our neck is maple with a rosewood board. It's a slab board too, if that's important to you. As far as the inlays, they're large blocks and made of a pearloid material, so not true mother of pearl. That's not really in Fender's territory at this price range. As far as some QC stuff, I do see like a lacquer droplet on our fretboard. I'm sure you could sand that off or use a razor blade, but surprisingly, there's actually some tooling marks on this fretboard too. Now, are they super obvious at all times? No, but on the workbench lights we can sure see them. But the fretboard conditioned beautifully. It's got some nice rosy streaks in it. This was kind of a bummer though. Right here before the 4th fret there is a chip of lacquer missing. Man, if only we could move that to here, it'd be perfect. But I measured this bone nut at 1 Iron Maiden, 2.05 at the 12th, and our oval C neck measures 0.85 at the 1st fret neck depth and 0.92 by the 12th. Here's a look at that neck profile at the 1st fret and the 12th fret, featuring a 12-inch fretboard radius and typical 25.5-inch scale. The headstock is looking pretty sweet. The charcoal frost finish helps make the Fender logo stand out, so you can actually see the yellow on the edges of it, and you kind of get a similar effect from your side profile shot. You see the yellow on the edges of the headstock. It's been a while since I've looked at a bullet truss rod, but this one just seems a little bit longer than usual, but it certainly beats having to take your neck off to adjust it. But we just have one string tree with the vintage poke it down, wrap it around style tuners. Now that I've got it all strung up, I wanted to mention one other thing. You've got this interesting screw right here, and it's simply because the pickguard would bow up if it wasn't secured into place there. I mean, normally we got larger pickups, so it's not that big of a deal. Well, that was kind of interesting. But let's flip it on over to the back side. The serial number for this model is actually on the neck plate, CS240197. Now this is going to get confusing because Chris's initials just happens to also look like custom shop. But no, it's Chris Shiflett, 2024 produced. This is number 197. Same thing's true on those pickups. They abbreviate it CS90, so people are going to think, oh, a custom shop P90 type thing. No, this guy's initials are just kind of confusing. But not much to really report here. You can see your string through ferrules and that comfort cut that we were talking about earlier with our barrel output jack and regular strap buttons down here. And on the upper horn, this one looks free of neck pocket cracks, so it survives shipping okay. Then moving up the back side of the neck, I was kind of shocked to see this on a Fender USA quality guitar. That's a pretty big knot in the wood, which, I mean, you can look at it 2 ways. It's cool or it's kind of an eyesore. But at the same time, it kind of looks like a clown eye. You guys remember the Burl Top Les Paul custom we documented? It had a very similar wood grain formation to it, except for that one looked like a clown girl, whereas this is just one spooky eye. Whatever your opinion of that is, it definitely makes it stand out as compared to all the other ones of these out there. But another thing you might be interested to know about this neck is it's a satin finish, but it's like one of those really high quality ones. It's just not as super fine glossy here. They've taken a few of those layers off. So that's good in a gigging situation. The back of the headstock, not needing a serial number, they can just plaster it with Corona, California, and another shifty signature with our F-stamped tuners. All said and done, this unique Tele weighs just about 8 pounds 1 ounce. I will say though, all that weight is in the body, so it feels heavier than that. But let's go ahead and hear how these noiseless P90 sound from Fender. For noiseless pickups, I think they actually sound pretty good. It's kind of interesting as you roll it down. It gets more of like a single coil sound to it. Let's see if the bridge does that too. I bet he uses that a lot. Generally speaking, I don't like noiseless pickups that much because in order to make them so they don't make a lot of noise on stage, which obviously an artist like this would need, it kind of sacrifices some of the tone, but being P90s, it is kind of interesting. And the roll-off has some good tones. So there we go, the new Shiflett Signature Telecaster. What are my final thoughts on it? It's a bit too much pickguard for my own personal tastes, but as far as what the artist wanted, I think Fender delivered upon it and gave us a slightly more affordable option as compared to the super custom shops, and something a little bit higher end than what they've offered in the past with the Mexican lineups. So if you're a fan of his and the tones that he can get out of it, yeah, I don't see any reason to not want one of these. Some of the small nitpicky QC details on this one, maybe not the best, but far from the worst that we've ever seen too. So ultimately, not my dream Tele, but it is a very cool color and one for the guys who like the 70s specs. Alright, Troglodytes, I hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll catch you tomorrow on the next one. Take care.